Welcome to my channel. HD Rare Coins 111. In this video I tell you about the United States of America Lincoln 1-cent penny, which are most valuable and rare. If you interested, please subscribe my channel. Thanks. Top 1. The year is 1976. The United States of America is celebrating its bicentennial, marking 2 centuries since the birth of the nation. It's a time of pride, reflection, and celebration. But while fireworks are lighting up the skies, the U.S. Mint is busy at work, creating a new series of coins to commemorate this historic event. Most of these coins, like the quarters and half dollars, get special new designs to honor America's 200 years of independence. But what about the humble penny? What changes does it get to reflect the spirit of 1976? At first glance, the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny looks just like any other penny you might find in your pocket. It features the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the front, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But this seemingly simple coin is much more significant than it first appears. This penny, struck during America's bicentennial, carries within it a deep connection to history and, surprisingly, can be worth tens of thousands of dollars today. The Lincoln penny was first introduced in 1909, designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner. Over the years, it became one of the most recognized coins in the world, with its image of Lincoln standing as a symbol of American values. However, in 1976, the penny was still largely unchanged, though it would be forever tied to the bicentennial celebrations. What made the 1976 Lincoln penny stand out was not its design, but the historical context in which it was released. As part of the bicentennial celebrations, coins across the country were updated to mark the occasion. The quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins received completely new designs to reflect important moments in U.S. history. The most famous of these was the new reverse design for the quarter, which depicted the Liberty Bell, a symbol of American independence. But for the Lincoln penny, the design didn't change. Instead, the 1976 penny retained the traditional image of the Lincoln Memorial on the back, which had been in place since 1959. The most noticeable change was the bold stamping of the year 1976, a subtle but clear reminder that this penny was minted during the United States bicentennial year. While this may seem like a small update, it gave the coin a special place in American history. Now, let's take a closer look at the design. On the front, the penny still carried the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln, sculpted by Brenner. The reverse, however, depicted the Lincoln Memorial, a building that symbolizes Lincoln's legacy as one of the greatest presidents in American history. But what really set the 1976 penny apart from others was its composition and its limited mintage errors, which would play a big part in its appeal to collectors. The 1976 penny was minted in 2 major locations, the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. If you look closely, you'll notice something important about these coins. Pennies from Philadelphia have no mint mark, while those from Denver have a small D mint mark beneath the date. This mint mark distinction became important for collectors who sought to track down every variation of the 1976 penny. The 1976 penny was made from the same composition as other pennies at the time, 95% copper and 5% zinc. It was designed to be affordable and practical for everyday use, which is why you might find hundreds of these coins lying around in jars and drawers, barely thought about by most. But for collectors, this coin became something more. Over the years, coin collectors started to realize that certain versions of the 1976 penny were more rare than others, and this is where the real story of the coin's value begins to unfold. While most 1976 pennies are just standard circulation coins, others were minted as special proof coins, coins designed to be kept in pristine condition for collectors, not to be used in daily transactions. These proof coins were struck with polished dies, giving them a sharp, mirror-like finish. They were sold in special proof sets, and the 1976 pennies in these sets are often in near-perfect condition, making them especially valuable. But it wasn't just the proof coins that grabbed the attention of collectors. As with many coins, some 1976 pennies were struck with errors. Minting errors are what makes certain coins highly desirable and can dramatically increase their value. A common error on the 1976 penny involved double striking, the process where a coin is struck twice by the minting dies, causing part of the image to overlap or become blurry. These coins are often considered minting mistakes, but to a collector they are rare treasures. The 1976 penny, with its potential for double die errors, became a holy grail for numismatists, the term for people who study and collect coins. In addition to the double die errors, some 1976 pennies were struck off-center, which caused part of the design to be missing from the coin's edge. These off-center errors are also highly prized by collectors, further adding to the mystique of the 1976 Lincoln penny. Now, let's talk about what makes this penny truly extraordinary: its potential value. Most of us probably don't think of a penny as something valuable, especially since it has a face value of just 1 cent. But certain 1976 pennies, due to their rarity and minting errors, have been known to sell for incredible prices. For example, a 1976 penny with a rare double die error was sold at auction for an astounding $56,000. That's right, $56,000 for a penny. It's hard to believe, but in the world of coin collecting, rarity, condition, and minting errors can turn an ordinary penny into a small fortune. And the 1976 Lincoln penny is no exception. So, how can you tell if you have a rare 1976 penny? First, check for the mint mark. If the coin was minted in Denver, it will have a D beneath the ear. But beyond the mint mark, look for coins that are in excellent condition. If the penny looks almost brand new, or if you spot a double die error, you could be holding a valuable collector's item. Now, let's talk about the general appeal of the 1976 penny. For collectors, this coin represents a fascinating intersection of history, rarity, and design. It's a piece of America's bicentennial, a token of pride and celebration, and yet it's also a coin that holds the potential for substantial financial value. While many people may not give the 1976 penny a second thought, collectors are constantly on the lookout for these unique variations. Whether it's the minting errors or the pristine proof versions, there's something about the 1976 penny that continues to captivate the imagination of coin enthusiasts everywhere. And let's not forget the emotional appeal of the coin. For many, the 1976 penny is a symbol of the nation's history, a reminder of the pride felt during America's bicentennial celebrations. To hold a 1976 penny in your hand is to hold a piece of the past, a small but powerful reminder of how far the nation has come. If you happen to stumble upon a 1976 Lincoln penny in your change, don't just brush it off. Take a closer look. If it's in excellent condition, or if you spot any signs of a minting error, you might just have a rare treasure on your hands. And who knows? It could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. To sum it all up, the 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny is more than just a coin. It's a piece of history, a symbol of American pride, and a valuable asset in the world of coin collecting. Whether it's the errors that make certain versions so rare or the stunning proof coins that shine with beauty, this penny continues to be a highly sought-after collectible. And for those lucky enough to find a rare version, it could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. So, next time you see a 1976 penny, take a moment to appreciate its significance. It could be worth more than you ever thought possible. Top 2. We're diving deep into the world of the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny, an unassuming coin with an incredible history, valuable minting details, and a collector's market that might surprise you. Stick with me as we explore how this penny went from a regular circulating coin to a highly coveted piece in the world of numismatics, and why some versions of it are worth up to $50,000 today. We begin our story in 1980, a year that seems both distant and familiar. The United States, still recovering from the inflationary pressures of the 1970s, was facing a period of economic instability. But amidst all the changes, one constant remained: the Lincoln penny. A staple in American currency since 1909, the penny, featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln, had undergone a few changes in design over the years. Yet by 1980, it remained largely unchanged. At this point, the reverse of the penny displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in place since 1959. The only difference in 1980 was the coin's date, a subtle detail that collectors and historians would come to appreciate for reasons beyond just being a part of the year's general minting run. But before we dive into what makes the 1980 penny stand out, let's take a moment to understand the design of the coin itself. The obverse of the penny, showing Abraham Lincoln's bust, was the creation of Victor David Brenner, a talented sculptor whose work became one of the most recognized coin designs in the world. Over time, the design has come to symbolize not just the life of Lincoln, but the American spirit as well. But the reverse, or back, of the 1980 penny is where things get even more interesting. From 1959 onward, the penny featured an image of the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic structure in Washington, D.C., symbolizing Lincoln's enduring legacy. This was a design that spoke to the country's admiration for Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War, and it has remained on the reverse of the penny for decades. Now, while the design stayed relatively unchanged in 1980, there were still a few subtle details about the penny that set it apart from earlier versions. First, we need to consider the materials. By 1980, the penny was still composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But by the mid-1980s, due to rising copper prices, the composition of the penny would soon be altered, leading to some interesting changes in subsequent years. But for now, the 1980 penny retained its classic copper content, which gives it a unique value when compared to newer pennies made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. The real story of the 1980 penny lies in its minting and the errors that occurred during the production process. You see, the U.S. Mint, like any large production facility, sometimes makes mistakes. These mistakes, minting errors, can turn an otherwise ordinary coin into a highly valuable collector's item. And the 1980 penny is no exception. As with many coins, a variety of errors occurred during the minting of the 1980 Lincoln penny. The most notable of these errors involved doubled dies and off-center strikes. These errors were caused by the misalignment of the dies during the striking process, resulting in coins with doubled features, where the image of Abraham Lincoln or the date would appear as if it had been stamped more than once. One of the most famous errors from the 1980 penny series is the double die verse. This is a type of minting error where the image of Lincoln, as well as the date, appear doubled or even tripled, creating a blurry, ghost-like effect. These coins were not meant to be in circulation, but because they were accidentally released, they became some of the most sought-after versions of the 1980 penny. Minting errors aren't just limited to double dies, though. Off-center strikes are another type of error that collectors often look for. In these cases, the coin's design is misaligned, causing the image of Lincoln or the date to appear partially cut off. These types of coins are much rarer than regular pennies, and as a result, they carry a higher value. But errors weren't the only reason the 1980 Lincoln penny became so attractive to collectors. The coin's value is also determined by its condition. A penny in excellent condition, with little to no wear and tear, can fetch far more than a penny that has been circulating for years. Coins in near mint or uncirculated condition are highly prized because they were carefully handled and protected from damage. A well-preserved 1980 penny is considered a treasure in the eyes of coin collectors. The 1980 penny also holds appeal for collectors because it is part of a significant era in U.S. coinage history. In the early 1980s, there was a general sense of uncertainty about the future of the penny. People were questioning whether the coin should be discontinued due to inflation and the rising cost of copper. Yet, despite the challenges, the penny persisted, making the 1980 version a sort of bridge between the traditional copper penny and the newer, less expensive versions that would come in the following decades. And now, we arrive at the part of the story you've been waiting for, the value of the 1980 Lincoln penny. How much is this seemingly modest coin worth today? While most 1980 pennies in circulation are worth only their face value, 1 cent, there are certain versions that can fetch a much higher price, particularly those with errors or in excellent condition. One of the most valuable 1980 pennies ever sold was a double die obverse penny, which fetched a staggering $50,000 at auction. Yes, you read that correctly, $50,000 for a single penny. This error coin, with its doubled features, became a highly sought-after item among serious collectors, and its high sale price reflects how much value collectors place on these rare coins. So, what makes a 1980 penny worth $50,000? It's all about rarity. The double die obverse error, in particular, is rare, and finding one in excellent condition or near mint quality is even rarer. The value increases even further if the coin is graded by a professional numismatic grading service, such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, which evaluates the coin's condition and authenticity. It's important to note that most 1980 pennies, even those with minor errors, won't fetch anything close to $50,000. However, if you come across a 1980 penny with a noticeable error or in exceptional condition, it could be worth far more than its face value. If you're wondering how to identify a valuable 1980 penny, here are a few tips. First, check for any doubling in the design, particularly in the image of Lincoln or the date. If you notice a blurry or ghost image, that's a clear sign of a double die error. Next, look for any off-center strikes or other misalignments that might make the coin more unique. Finally, examine the overall condition of the coin. A well-preserved penny, free of scratches, stains, or signs of wear, is much more valuable than one that has been damaged by time or circulation. But why has the 1980 Lincoln penny gained so much appeal among collectors? Part of it is because it marks an important year in U.S. history. The economic uncertainty of the 1980s, combined with the constant debate over the future of the penny, has made the 1980 penny a symbol of that time. Additionally, the minting errors and variations, along with the preservation of certain coins in near-perfect condition, have contributed to the growing interest and demand. So, what does this mean for you as a collector or someone with an interest in coin collecting? It means that the 1980 Lincoln penny is far from ordinary. It's a coin with a rich history, a fascinating backstory, and the potential to be worth far more than you might expect. Whether you find a double die obverse penny, a coin in pristine condition, or just one that holds sentimental value, the 1980 Lincoln penny is a great addition to any collection. In conclusion, the 1980 Lincoln penny represents much more than just a piece of change. It's a coin that has captured the attention of collectors due to its historical significance, its design, and the rare errors that occurred during its minting. And for those lucky enough to find one in excellent condition or with a minting error, it can be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So, next time you find a 1980 penny in your pocket change, take a moment to examine it closely. You might just be holding a small fortune. Top 3. We're diving deep into the history, design, and value of one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics, the 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This humble yet significant coin has more to it than meets the eye, and by the end of this video, you'll be just as intrigued as we are about its story and its potential value, which might just surprise you. Let's start by turning the clock back a bit. The Lincoln cent, a coin that has been a staple of American currency for over a century, was first introduced in 1909. Designed by the famous sculptor Victor David Brenner, it was a tribute to President Abraham Lincoln, who led the country through its most tumultuous time, the Civil War. This penny, the 1-cent coin, became a symbol not only of the nation's past but also of its ongoing growth and development. Over the decades, the coin's design has undergone subtle changes, but the essence of Lincoln's portrait has remained a constant. Now, fast forward to 1988. This year marked another chapter in the long history of the penny, which continues to hold a unique place in American hearts and pockets. But what made the 1988 Lincoln penny particularly interesting? Let's take a closer look. In 1988, the U.S. Mint continued producing pennies with the traditional Lincoln design on the obverse, featuring the bust of President Abraham Lincoln. The reverse of the coin, however, was far from ordinary. Unlike earlier coins, which depicted various designs, the 1988 penny still bore the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a testament to Lincoln's legacy and his unyielding dedication to preserving the Union. The memorial, a symbol of unity and a reminder of Lincoln's profound impact on American history, would continue to grace the reverse of the penny until 2008. But what made this particular year's minting special? Well, when the 1988 penny was released, it wasn't really anything out of the ordinary in terms of design. However, certain subtle features would come to attract the attention of numismatists and collectors alike. As with any coin from the U.S. Mint, the 1988 Lincoln penny was struck at multiple minting facilities: the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint. Each coin was meticulously crafted with attention to detail, but as you can imagine, not all pennies that rolled off the press were identical. Some subtle variations could occur in the final products, tiny imperfections or subtle differences that could make certain pennies stand out from the others. For most people, these pennies were simply another part of their daily pocket change. They passed through countless hands, were dropped in parking lots, tucked into piggy banks, and perhaps even thrown out with the trash over the years. However, for those with a keen eye for detail, the 1988 penny held something far more intriguing. At the core of coin collecting lies the concept of rarity, and rarity often comes from subtle imperfections, misprints, minting errors, or simply the age of the coin. As time goes on, coins that might have seemed utterly ordinary at the time of their release can become highly sought after by collectors. The 1988 penny, while not necessarily rare in the traditional sense, became interesting for numismatists because of certain factors: its production numbers, its age, and the very slight variations in its design that made some pennies more unique than others. But before we get to the valuable pennies from 1988, let's take a moment to discuss the minting process. When a penny is produced at the U.S. Mint, a combination of pressure and heat ensures that the design is etched onto the coin. The penny's composition has also changed over the years. While earlier pennies were made from mostly copper, the 1988 penny was primarily composed of copper-plated zinc, which allowed for cost-saving measures in production. This change also had a long-term impact on the look and feel of the coin. The copper-plated zinc coin of 1988 features a shiny, reddish hue that makes it immediately recognizable, even decades later. Now, let's talk about why a few 1988 pennies have become incredibly valuable. As any seasoned collector will tell you, a coin's value is determined by more than just its year of issue. It comes down to factors like rarity, condition, and historical significance. So, what happened with the 1988 penny? One of the most valuable types of 1988 pennies is the 1988 D Lincoln cent with a significant error, the double die variety. A double die coin occurs when the die used to stamp the coin gets misaligned during the minting process, causing the design to appear more than once. This error is usually subtle but noticeable, especially in the lettering and numbers. With a double die, the text on the coin might appear blurry, or the year could seem to have two impressions of the digits. These errors are incredibly rare, and collectors value them highly. When it comes to the 1988 penny, a double die error can make the coin worth far more than its 1-cent face value. Coins with this kind of error, especially those in good condition, can command prices in the hundreds of dollars. But even rarer are pennies that feature not just a double die but other small yet significant anomalies, such as a misstrike, off-center strikes, or even coins that were mistakenly minted with extra material around the edges. These kinds of pennies can be worth thousands of dollars. And now, for the big reveal. While the average 1988 penny is worth exactly 1 cent, if you happen to have a 1988 penny with one of these rare minting errors, particularly a double die, you could find yourself sitting on a coin that could fetch up to $42,000 on the open market. Yes, you heard that right, $42,000. But not every 1988 penny is going to have this kind of value. To be worth this much, the coin must meet a very specific set of criteria, including being in excellent condition and having a noticeable minting error. So, how do you go about identifying one of these valuable pennies in your own collection or in your pocket change? The key is to examine the coin carefully. Look for signs of double dies, particularly in the lettering and the year. If the lettering appears to be duplicated or the numbers in the year seem offset, there's a good chance you've found something special. It's also important to keep an eye on the overall condition of the coin. Coins in mint, or near mint condition are the ones that tend to attract the highest prices. If you think you might have a valuable 1988 penny, it's wise to have it appraised by a professional numismatist or take it to a reputable coin dealer. They can help you determine if your coin is indeed one of the rare varieties that is worth a small fortune. The 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny is a prime example of how a seemingly ordinary piece of currency can take on extraordinary value over time. It's a perfect reminder that numismatics is about much more than just the money. It's about history, artistry, and the hunt for those rare and special pieces that tell a unique story. Top 4. We're going to explore one of the most iconic coins in American history, the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now you might think, a penny? Really? But stick with us, because by the end of this video, we'll reveal why this seemingly humble coin has a story worth telling, and why it could be worth an astounding $36,000. Yes, you heard that right, $36,000. But we'll get to that jaw-dropping value in a bit. Let's start at the beginning. The Lincoln cent, or penny, has been a staple of American currency since 1909. Originally introduced to honor President Abraham Lincoln, the coin has undergone several design changes over the years, each reflecting the times in which they were minted. The Lincoln cent's initial design, created by Victor David Brenner, featured a left-facing profile of Lincoln on the obverse, with the reverse depicting two wheat stalks, hence, the wheat penny nickname. This design remained until 1959, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, marking the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1994, the Lincoln cent was far from a novelty. It had become a piece of American culture, a regular fixture in everyday life for decades. The design of the coin had been updated in 1959 to include the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, and that design remained in place through 2008. So, when we look at the 1994 penny, we are seeing a coin that was part of a long tradition, but still carrying within it the potential for some fascinating surprises. The year 1994 was a particularly interesting one for the U.S. Mint, as it marked a time of transition. The economy was in a period of growth, and the Mint had refined its processes to a level of precision that made coins more uniform and consistent than ever before. However, this era of technical perfection also led to some interesting anomalies. In fact, certain pennies from 1994, due to small errors in the minting process, have become highly sought after by collectors. But before we dive into those rare varieties, let's take a step back and explore the 1994 penny's general characteristics. The obverse of the 1994 Lincoln penny features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. It's an image that's become as synonymous with America as the flag itself. Above Lincoln's head is the inscription, Liberty, and to the right of his portrait is the date, 1994. Just below Lincoln's chin, you'll see the word, In God We Trust. The mint mark, which indicates where the penny was produced, is located on the bottom right of the coin, either D for the Denver Mint or P for the Philadelphia Mint. On the reverse, the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. The memorial is framed by the inscription, United States of America, at the top and E pluribus unum beneath the memorial. At the very bottom is the denomination, 1 cent, marking the coin's value. When it comes to the 1994 Lincoln penny, the standard design remained largely unchanged. However, the year was significant in terms of the coins produced. In 1994, the U.S. Mint struck a massive number of pennies, over 7 billion in total, making it one of the most common years for Lincoln cents. As you can imagine, with this high volume of production, most of the 1994 pennies are fairly easy to come by and not worth more than their face value. However, this is where things get interesting. Coin collectors don't just care about the year a coin was minted, they care about its rarity, condition, and any peculiarities in the way the coin was struck. And in the case of the 1994 Lincoln penny, there are a few important things to consider that could increase its value. One of the most notable aspects of the 1994 penny is that, over the years, certain minting errors have been discovered. One of the most famous errors from this period is the doubled die penny. A doubled die occurs when the coin's design is struck more than once by the die, creating a slight overlap in the design elements. This happens during the minting process when the die is misaligned or doesn't fully reset before striking again. The result is that the coin may show faint impressions of the design in multiple places, particularly in the year and the lettering. While double die errors are rare, they're highly prized among collectors because they represent a unique and fascinating part of the coin's creation. If you happen to find a 1994 penny with a noticeable double die, you could have a coin worth significantly more than just 1 cent. For example, a well-preserved 1994 double die penny could sell for anywhere between $500 and $3,000, depending on its condition and the clarity of the error. But this is just one example of how a seemingly ordinary coin can become a collector's dream. Another factor that can influence the value of a 1994 penny is its condition. Coins that have been kept in excellent condition are far more valuable than those that have been heavily circulated. Pennies that show little to no wear, with sharp details and minimal signs of aging, are known as uncirculated, or mint state, coins. If you happen to find a 1994 penny that's in pristine condition, it could be worth far more than you might expect. In fact, uncirculated 1994 pennies can fetch up to $50 or even more, especially if they come from a rare minting era. Now, let's talk about the most valuable and rare version of the 1994 penny, the 1994 Lincoln cent with an off-center strike. An off-center strike occurs when the coin's design is stamped onto the planchet, the blank metal disc, but doesn't align properly with the center of the coin. The result is a coin that looks like it was struck with part of the design missing. While off-center strikes are not as common as other types of errors, they are among the most coveted by collectors because of their distinctive look and rarity. A 1994 penny with a significant off-center strike can be worth thousands of dollars, especially if the error is extreme and the coin is in good condition. Some off-center 1994 pennies have sold for as much as $36,000, depending on the severity of the error and the overall appeal of the coin. At this point, you might be wondering how to identify if your 1994 penny has one of these valuable errors. The key is to examine your penny closely. Start by looking at the lettering and the date. If you notice that the text appears doubled or offset, it could be a double die variety. Similarly, check the alignment of the design. If the Lincoln Memorial or the letters appear misaligned or off-center, you may have an off-center strike. The condition of the coin is also crucial. Coins that are well preserved are generally worth more than those with scratches, discoloration, or other signs of heavy use. If you think you might have a rare 1994 penny, it's worth taking it to a professional coin dealer or numismatist for evaluation. They can help you determine whether your coin has any significant minting errors and assess its overall value. As we wrap up today's video, it's clear that the 1994 Lincoln penny, while seemingly ordinary, holds a world of intrigue and value for collectors. Whether it's a rare double die, an off-center strike, or simply a well-preserved example in mint condition, the 1994 penny is proof that even the most common coins can become treasures. Remember, not every 1994 penny will be worth thousands of dollars. But with a keen eye and some luck, you might just find a rare and valuable coin hiding in your change jar or tucked away in your collection. So, the next time you find a 1994 penny, take a moment to inspect it carefully. You might just be holding on to something far more valuable than you ever expected. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the world of the 1994 Lincoln penny. Until next time, keep collecting, keep searching, and remember, there's always more to a coin than meets the eye.